This week in DC, we get probably the most awkward team-ups of all time. DC really made it weird. Over at the Marvel side of the house, we get that X of Swords story, and it's weird. Also in Indies this week, we get We Live, and guess what? It's weird. That and an update on the most super duper rarest Funko Pop of all time. Let's roll that intro and jump into this. What's going on, you wonderful weirdos? I'm Pocan Joe, and as always, you're pretty cool for swinging by. If this is your first time on the channel, basically what I do is I'm a middle-aged man that buys a whole lot of comic books. I read them as fast as I can, take a bunch of notes on them, and then I talk to you about them. If you have any opinions about any of these comic books because you read them, please comment down below. Without that, let's jump right into this week's. We're going to talk about Detective Comics right up off the back. It's Halloween time, so we kind of sort of needed a ghost story, but the world's greatest detective will not be fooled by a ghost because there's no such thing as ghosts. Maybe. I think my new house is haunted.
That'd be kind of cool.
But other than that, in this story, we get a son's vengeance story, and he dresses up like his father to ultimately go get the guys that ultimately, killed his father and ruined their family name. So it was kind of like family vengeance and the whole, son seeking redemption for his past father. So classical Batman story. It was pretty cool. We also see that police officer guy who I originally thought may have been Clown Hunter, but it's not. So
he's sexy as hell. He's got muscle.
Even I could be wrong sometimes. But all in all, cool cover, okay story. It wasn't like super, super exciting, but still, I think it was a setup for something coming here soon. At least I can hope so. Moving on, Rorschach came out #1. First off, Rorschach's not in this comic book. It's a guy dressed up like Rorschach, and just like Batman, who Rorschach kind of fancies himself to be. It's weird. It's very weirdly paced, I think is the best way to put it. When you're reading this, you're not really sure, first off, what time frame it's taken in, and then we find out that an 80-year-old guy who's pretty fit.
And I'm like, damn.
That's where you get the cover. Dressed up like Rorschach to go stop an assassination, or did he? Dun, dun, dun. We don't really know. It's a very confusing book to read. Right up my alley, but maybe not up others. Did you read this? What did you think of it?
Quack, quack, quack. Like, shut the out.
Moving on. Let's go to, Superman. So we finally meet, or we finally see Shania, the alien equivalent of Superman. We'll just call him that. They finally meet up, and we find out this guy's got some bones behind him. Like, he can battle out. And in the entire time, Superman's trying to figure, he's like, whoa, why are we fighting? Why am I getting hit in the face? What's going on here? Instead of just taking care of business. But we leave off that, you can only push Superman so far, and we're going to see what that result is in this. I'm kind of liking this character because it's kind of this whole religious, faith-based,
Don't make a joke out of it.
alien culture from the uncharted regions of space. So what will happen? I don't know. If you haven't been reading Superman, this is probably a good place to kind of jump on to kind of see this kind of action going on. It's classical, and it's not bad.
Today's a slide day, but after this, it counts.
Moving on. Oh, one of my favorite books this week. Dark Knight, Death Metal. So this is weird to read. This is not a one-time read, and I'm like, oh my god, I gotta figure it out. That is not the case. First off, 1 in 25 cover. This almost completes my band covers. They're all bands.
And then it starts, and then it comes up, and then it comes up, and then all this.
Or members of a death metal band. Anyway, so in this, we got Wally West and his teams are racing back to the Morbius chair to get rid of the negative energy.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I think there's some undertones there. But we find out that Superboy Prime, you remember him? Probably not. That was a long time ago, and that was a very different storyline under the Final Crisis issues. But he's back kind of in the picture, and Diana, or Wonder Woman, has to talk him back into being like, you know, cool. Like, she said everything but, hey man, just be cool.
You ready for the situation?
Because he's kind of an uptight guy who wants his world taken care of and wants kind of this harmonious type thing. And Diana has to explain to him, you know, life, that's not life. Like, life is hard.
But you don't understand how I feel.
And things go wrong and people make bad decisions. Regardless, by the time Superboy Prime is on board, we find out that, again, the one who laughs, which he's referred to, the Batman who laughs, is now the one who laughs, has already kind of set up to where if anything hit the Morbius chair, it would automatically come to him. In other words, he had a contingency plan.
Indescribable. You can't even describe the situation that you're about to get into the situation.
Interesting. Hey, oh, he's just like Batman. So, not bad, but it was kind of confusing the way they were kind of jumping around everywhere. And we get some monologuing from the Robin King. I can't wait till his book comes out. Apparently he's got his own little thing coming out here soon. I would love to see some more of that. He seems like a sadistic little punk at best. And I kind of want to see that. Moving on. Weird DC book this week. So, you know, it's Halloween time, so they did their Doomed and the Damned.
Get out there, it's get filthy, creepy and weird.
Bunch of stories in here, tons of stories. But some of the most weirdest kind of like team-ups of all time. Like Madame Xanadu and Man-Bat, right? Like those two, normally you wouldn't see those two together. The weirdest one in here was Aquaman and Frankenstein. And Aquaman thought it was appropriate to bring his kid on a mission to Mars and then underwater and battling people, and it was just a lot of the stories in here are just like
It was like a horror movie for a second.
right. We see that Orphan character. You know who Orphan is? Like one of the most popular Batman family character. No, yeah, I didn't either. Like I had to double check to make sure I was reading the character right. So they had a story in here, something about kids being kidnapped, and her name's Orphan, so big deal to her. Yeah, that's cringy. A lot of cringiness in here. Moving on to Marvel. Now Marvel decided to unload a bunch of their Alex Ross Timeless covers this week. I know one of the most popular ones was the Black Panther one, maybe because of the recent death of Chadwick or whatever. But these things this week were awesome. You're going to see some of them. It's going to be pretty cool.
Nah, I don't.
So Avengers, this ends the Khonshu storyline where Moon Knight takes on the powers of the Dark Phoenix. You know, Jean Grey and the Dark Phoenix and that whole thing? Yeah, okay. Well, he does this to defeat Khonshu. Khonshu's his living god. Really cool. Really like this whole Mjolnir thing being really made of moon rock, even though that's not even possible. But whatever, we're not going to dive into the facts of it.
So I'm holding back. I'm holding back a little.
Thor finally gets out of his little like mooned prison because Khonshu kind of put him in there to go get his hammer back, and kind of lays into Moon Knight. Ultimately, I want to say he knocked the Dark Phoenix out of him because he didn't have it at the end. It was flying in space. So that's the assumption. Really cool. The Star Band baby thing in here, that was kind of funny. I still say it looks like a little baby Trump. Like it, and I'm not making fun of the president or anything like that. It's not really my style. But it kind of has this little meme. It's funny. Check it out. It's good stuff. Plus that cover, right? Oh my Lord. That's a good one.
What do you expect us to do?
Okay, moving on. Let's go into, so now we're going to get into this whole X of Swords kind of storyline. And it's pretty interesting. So the first one is Hellions. And what the Hellions decide to do is they don't want Krakoa, or I'm sorry, the Council doesn't want the Krakoa champions in this particular battle. If you're not up to speed on this storyline, check a couple of videos back. I kind of explain how it breaks out.
What's the magic word?
So instead of finding the champions and everything, what they decide is Mr. Sinister decides that he's going to get the Hellions involved, and they're going to go and either steal the swords or, well, let's just say steal the swords. My assumption is, kill the people too, but they kind of mentioned stealing the swords here. So now basically what you have here is a quest story, because they got to get to the other world to get there, and they got to go through another world to do it. And it's kind of a fantasy, Excalibur, knights and kings and stuff like that type world, and they got to get through there first. Empath is with them. They run into a little trouble, and Empath kind of makes everybody their friend with the deal that Grey Crow gets to be his pet.
The party has officially begun.
Because apparently there's a rule you're not allowed in anybody's heads, yada yada yada. I first jumped on Hellions when it first came out, and I was like, okay, 2 issues in, I was like, okay, it wants to get weird. Now it seems like it's gotten back on point, and it is interesting, but I'm really starting to raise some questions about Krakoa. Like, this is not something heroes would do. It's not a hero's story, right? I mean, yeah, they're going on a quest to go do the right thing, but they're
Jericho offs.
doing it to cheat in a contest and make the other team forfeit, right? Not really. So this whole Krakoa thing, as I've been kind of steadily getting back into this storyline, I'm like, they're not acting like heroes. Something is going on in this mythos here. I'm not really sure. I would almost say that this is all in somebody's head, or it's an illusion and it's actually a prison. I'm kind of leaning towards those 2 things right there, whatever this whole X-Men thing ends up leading to. But the swords thing, that's pretty cool. I dig seeing the different swords. So no champion picked in this one. But the next 2, we get our next champion. So we get New Mutants, and we find out that Cypher is one of the ones that has to be a champion. If you don't know who Cypher is, his mutant ability, I guess, is communication. He's kind of the voice of Krakoa. He can translate any language, and he's got an embedded alien with him, organic, robotic alien in him called Warlock, and Warlock's going to be the sword.
Can't wait to see what's gonna go down.
Right? It kind of warps to his hand. He's all, right? But he's not a warrior, right? So regardless, people are like, hey, maybe this isn't the best thing for you to do. This really isn't your realm, and he's like, well, I have the heart and I'm willing to do it. Shouldn't I be? And I'm reading it like, no, that's not how that works. But we do get a classic 80s montage where Magic is going to try to teach him the best she can on how to sword fight as quickly as possible.
I just really don't get it.
All right, still not the best option out there, but as long as he stays close to Magic, it should be all right. A lot of Magic stuff going on this week, the character. Then we roll right into, what is this? Cable. Cable number 5 comes out, and of course he's going to be one of the champions too. He is a warrior, and Dad's kind of okay with him going at pre-jump to the end here, like he's even smiling. It's weird. So Cable's coming off of a mission that I don't really understand. Something with sword, a space station, and some aliens coming through that talk about cleansing, which is always a religious reference, and then destroying and yada yada, rebirth type stuff.
She went from like stupid to like incoherent.
So he kind of shows up, and there's no big quest for him. He already has a sword with him or whatever. He shows up, and like they're having this long monologue with him and Magic around the circle. Cypher's there. He says one word, and then I'm like, well, wait a second. Everybody else is, or the other 4 people are around this circle too. Why aren't they talking? Like, Wolverine's not saying anything. Magic, they're just kind of standing there, and Magic's kind of like, I guess, running the show on this one. She's in charge, I guess, of the competitors. Or she's the team captain, maybe?
I'm the sweetest bitch you'll ever meet, but do not with me.
Yeah, I don't know. Didn't really make much sense to me, but regardless, it is what's happening. And even he kind of looked over at Cypher and was like, really? That guy? Like, he's... Wow. Sick burn. All right, let's dive into some interesting stuff. So, we find out who Kindred is in Amazing Spider-Man number 50. And first off, Alex Ross cover, really good. I stopped cover buying, but it almost seems like every show I am showing you another cover buy that I got. So yeah, I went ahead and got the 1 in 25 Goblin cover. And first off, that's my favorite one. So who's Kindred? Well, he's Henry Osborn. You know, Norman Osborn's son. Yeah, that happened. That's it. No, nothing really deep there. Just a villain that we've known for a while. But Sin Eater does finally shoot Norman Osborn, and apparently he's regretful and feels bad for his sins. And then Kindred, or Harry, double crosses Sin Eater by taking his soul. He never promised him anything. You just did what you did. We get some insight about Sin Eater, a little bit about how his partner's death is actually his fault. Deep story, kind of weird. Doctor Strange makes an appearance. I'm not sure why, but we also find out that the that his multiverse friends that keep showing up, they've been turned evil. Yeah. What is it? Silk Spider. She's all deformed, looking more like a spider with the mouth that opens sideways. Sideways. It's really creepy looking, just in time for Halloween. It was pretty cool. So let's see where this goes. Also, I forgot that this was kind of interesting. Harry Osborn kind of digs up the Stacys, Gwen Stacy and George Stacy, her father.
Kind of like ghetto and like
and kind of setting up a dinner party, and their corpses are all rotten and everything. I was like, okay, that's sadistic. All right, maybe there's something to this. So I'm definitely going to be keeping my eyes on this. Next, again, just in time for almost Halloween, we get Marvel Zombies Resurrection. So Peter Parker, the Fantastic Four kids, Blade, and their Sentinel nanny, who's named Nanny. And the Flurkin, the cat thing. They all finally get to Atlantis, right? So they get to Atlantis. There's zombies on the front. They go down to the bottom floor, and they see Logan there. Logan's strapped up to, an X. Remember the X cover? He's strapped up to that thing. If you remember that, please comment down below. Don't make me be the only guy on that one. So he's strapped up to this thing, and he's his eyes have been gouged out. So, something's happening to him on a regular basis, and his regeneration is just trying to keep up. We find out that the zombies are not just zombies. They're actually the Brood as well. But they're the hybrid kids of them that were buried in Galactus when he crashed to Earth. We were kind of hinted at this a while back with the whole zombies inside of Galactus thing. So that was pretty cool. Next, Immortal Hulk. Good luck trying to figure this one out. You're a smarter man than me. And that's probably true. Apparently, the beginning of the story, we're inside Bruce Banner's head. Where is his body on the outside? I'm not really sure. There's something chained up deep in his head that was been there since his childhood. So this is where all the different Hulks kind of hang out until they pop out, if that makes sense. The leader is apparently, because of the Green Door, he's able to jump into different versions. So he's in Rick Ross's head or eyes, or controlling his body, I think is the best way to describe it. And he's also in Bruce Banner's head. And then he's in the zombie that won't die, the thing that was in the capsule. So he's trying to take care of all this, and it doesn't seem to be working. But inside Bruce Banner's head, he's the strongest Hulk there, until he kind of threatens Bruce Banner. Then this other Hulkling type beast comes out. It almost looks like Abomination. It's kind of this lizard-looking type of creature. It wasn't the one on the cover. But regardless, there was a spoiler cover that came out. I don't know what this is. It hasn't been referenced before in the Immortal Hulk, so I'm not really sure. If you know, please let me know, because this is getting very close to a I don't care story. It's got some cool stuff in it, but I'm not really I'm not digging it. So
I can cut that out.
I don't know. All right, so moving into indies. This is where things get kind of interesting. And I may end up start picking up more indies. First, let's have that awkward sip of beer, because it's nighttime. and Daddy needs his medicine. All right. So we're going to jump right into the book that everybody's talking about. It's We Live. So this is kind of, if you liked, this is the best way to start this off. If you liked Middle West, you're more than likely going to like this. So after years of humanities and its worst tragedies, storms, wars, bad decisions, whatever the case may be, an alien society out there knows that the Earth is going to just be done here soon. So they sent $5,000 or $5,000. Could have cost that much. They send 5,000 of these wrist bracelets and tell them, with the instructions, I should say, that give them to the children, right? And we'll say 5,000. That way, the species still lives. So these kids go out and do it. It breaks every now and then where it has this kind of, like in Fallout, the game. I've never played it, but I've seen like my brother-in-law and people play it. They kind of have this little breakout where they have like a public service announcement. That happens twice in this book. It's comical. So basically what they're doing is getting kind of close down to the end of the hours. It's like 157 hours or something like that. Right around 5 days. They're trying to round up all the kids and get them to one of the 9 cities where these transporters are. So the beings can come get them or whatever. So we have an older guy who's driving the bus, well, their version of the bus. Looks more like something you see in the military. He's trying to get them there, and like in 6 stages, there's a map in the back, and it has these 6 stages. In 6 stages, like the worst stuff happens. Like the bus breaks down, they get attacked by these monsters. Very fantastic world that they live in. Like, I don't know what to call it. It's a cross between, well, it's Middle West, kind of that fantasy steampunk kind of, but you kind of can figure out what everything is world. And finally the bus breaks down, so now he's got to march these kids to a place, and it looks like they're about to almost get attacked by a lionish looking creature. It's got a name in the back and the key in the map. Definitely interesting. I like the dialogue in it. The kids interacting with each other is comical. It has a whimsy to it that's just keeps you reading it. So again, I hate for a writer to be referenced to something else because you don't really give the writer his justice. But again, if you liked Middle West, chances are you're going to like this. And I thought it was kind of a cartoony cover, and I wouldn't like it. But the outside art versus the inside art, completely different. Really good stuff. Big thumbs up from me.
To get over it at this point.
And then we go to the other side of the spectrum. So, The Devil's Red Bride. It's Mulan. It's Mulan. Kind of. Well, it's a take on Mulan. It's kind of vaguely, loosely. All right. Female.
Pretty much to know how to own it and rock it.
In a very respectable Japanese shogun type family. Son's not very good at battle. So sister fights the battles, comes back, gives him the armor, and then he goes out and gives the glorious speeches, right? That's kind of the backdrop. Well, something ended up happening to the family anyway, and she's like the lone Rowan, just kind of rolling through the area. She slices up one guy. These other kind of samurai dudes, they have a problem with that because this guy was supposed to take them through the mountains and guide them. And they're like, well, you killed him, we paid him, so now, his servant has to. And she's like, whoa, wait a second. No, I think I should go. I'll go with you guys. I'll come help. The dialogue in this is so off kilter. I can't explain it. When you read through it, you're just like, why? Who talks like this? Like, it's just weird. And you can say, well, Joe, it's a story from Japan. I doubt very seriously the writer knows anything about Japan in here, other than the fantasticness of a samurai warrior or a shogun or a Rowan. That's probably their limit. This was kind of weird. I don't think I'll be picking too much up on this. Last but not least, one of my favorite stories I've been reading, Once and Future. Again, we kind of followed the same formula here. We're not changing up. We beat the monster in the beginning. We get some backdrop and some understanding in this one. So basically, Duncan, Granny's son, he has to play the part of Beowulf in this kind of different story of Beowulf, if you will. They're trying to link Excalibur fairy tales to Beowulf, that there's some sort of connection with the two.
Dear God.
That they're actually kind of a continuing story, if you will. They kind of make it reasonable in here to some degree. And the truth is, you can probably do this with any historical story because they all follow that kind of hero's arc and then the hero's redemption story. And you can always kind of do that. I like the way they did it here. I thought it was really smart. So, quick update on my super duper most rarest pop of all time. So I've had some huge failures. This is proven to be a little bit more complicated than I originally thought, and I want to apologize for putting out a promo video so early.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
Nordic Gold is not easy to make. I've already blown out 2 crucibles. I have not given up. It will happen. I promise you that. There will be a Nordic Gold pop by the time it's said and done. But this process is a little harder than I originally thought.
Situation right there. Yes, sir, it is.
So, and I'll probably make a box for it, just to have a box. So yeah, there's that. And don't forget, Friday night, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on YouTube. Blast it or stash it. I think we're calling ourselves Stashing Comics now. I don't think it really changes how you put it in there in the old search. There'll be a link somewhere through here. Let me put my hand up so I know when I edit to put it someplace. We'll say it's up here someplace. We'll do this. Yeah, that way I know when I'm editing that it's up here someplace and I can put it there. So yeah, good stuff there. So definitely stay tuned. We're going to get this most super duper rarest pop thing done and then bring you some more comic book reviews with our live chat Friday night, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on the YouTubes. All right, guys, I got to get back at it. But seriously, the Crucible's still heating up outside. I got to get back out there and sweat it out. I'll talk to you all later. Bye.
My tagline is I'm your girl's favorite DJ.